Serious Redditors who have lawfully killed someone, what's your story? I'd been in Iraq for almost 5 months and hadn't shot anyone up close. During a convoy from Cobb's Beach at a fob danger, we had to take a route that was far more dangerous than our usual route. While driving along a very skinny street, I was scanning rooftops, alleys, vehicles, windows, etc. As we approached an alley on the right, I saw some motion out of the corner of my eye. I swung my weapon around and saw an enemy combatant taking an EW/an RPG on his shoulder, and I fired immediately. The weapon I was using was not intended for anti-personnel usage, so at close range and in the extremely heightened panic and fear state I was in, I fired more rounds than necessary, and I tore that enemy combatant literally to shreds. It's been 10 years since I took my first life, and it still haunts my dreams 3, 4, sometimes 5 nights a week. 3 years ago I got in a car accident with nsfw. Both at fault. Guy has a family in the car and comes out screaming saying I tried to kill his family. I tell him I'm calling the cops and he says no, then gets angry when I pull out my phone. He walks to his SUV and comes back with a pistol. I drop the phone and tell him to calm down. He keeps walking towards me. I walk to my driver's side where I keep a Glock 26 and defended myself. There was a traffic camera which recorded the entire incident, and I did not face any charges. His family is still trying to sue in civil. I posted this on my previous Reddit account about 11 months ago. This was about 2004 to 2006. I don't remember the exact year anymore. I killed a guy that tried to break into my apartment because he was wanting his wife that he had just beat the shit out of. 2 AM. I hear them arguing. I could hear it through my bathroom wall. I shut my bathroom then bedroom to drown it out. 2:15 AM. She's banging on my door, broken nose, left eye swollen, and limping from tripping and falling to get out of the apartment. Told her to go to the bathroom, clean herself up, then hide in my bedroom. Husband comes out of the apartment, yelling her name, and he notices her blood trail to my apartment. Starts banging on my door, yelling to let him in. I warned him 3 times that he doesn't stop, I will kill you. He kicks the lock on the door. Door swings open, and I swing my baseball bat down onto his head. He falls to the ground stunned. He lands stomach first, and I see a handgun tucked into the back of his shirt. I grab it, throw it into my apartment, and warned him 1 more time. He got up, came at me. I slammed my bat into his stomach, then slammed my bat over his head 1 last time, which caved his skull in. I knew from the blood spatter from when I hit, he was dead. Thankfully, the neighbors had called the police when it started, and the second he fell to the ground dead, police had made it to the top of the steps. It never affected me as much as it should have. I reacted the best way I could for the situation I was in. I don't think about what I did anymore. I can't fix the past. Throw away for this one. A guy had taken serious issue with me earlier that year, 2010. Over hooking up with his ex-girlfriend and then dating her after. Some threatening Facebook messages was the only real interaction I had with him up until the night it happened. Fast forward a few months, I was at a bar with friends. He keeps trying to start problems outside when we were smoking. I keep backing away with no one to fight this guy, telling him repeatedly that I don't want to fight you. He swings and hits me, and my reaction was to punch him in the throat, and I really don't know why. I guess the face just seemed like it would break my hand, as I had never actually punched somebody before. Well, he fell back and hit his head on a curb and died later in hospital from the head injury. Police never laid charges as there was a camera on the parking lot. He was clearly the aggressor. I feel bad he died, wish he didn't, but I just kind of tell myself that he did it to himself. Just very unfortunate it happened the way it did. I worked as a bouncer in California for 5 years while I went to college. There were lots of fights and squabbles, but they usually ended with no one getting hurt, with a few exceptions. One in particular was a fellow who ran in, jumped over the bar, and started throwing the bottles everywhere. Then he lit a match and threw it on the ground. Fire didn't spread or do anything because it missed the alcohol, but I was grabbing him and hauling him back over the bar to restrain him while they called the cops. He slashed me across my neck clavicle, and chest with a switchblade, and when I grabbed his arms to protect my face he still cut my face 6 more times. 96 stitches. I was on my own. Just some kids in the bar and a female bartender, so I just pushed his knife back into his throat while he kept trying to slash at my face, snapping his wrist in half in the process. I wasn't even trying to kill or do any of that. I was just scared shitless I was going to die defending a bar. Even worse was, while I was trying to stop his bleeding he was still swinging at me. He was definitely on some uppers. My guilt is that, even though I was bigger and more experienced, I wasn't able to just solve the problem without any serious injuries. So I killed somebody, with 9 witnesses, cameras, and 1 phone video. There was nothing criminal. But I can't touch someone's arms or hands without feeling like I'll snap their wrist in half backwards. It was sickening. Of course I quit the next day. He was the ex-boyfriend of another bartender who wasn't even there that day. I think he might have killed the bartender that was there though, so I'm glad I was there. I was 17. Mom and dad left my 12-year-old sister and I alone at home while they went to a wedding. It's about 2 AM. And I had just laid down in bed. I hear a loud bang come from downstairs and then footsteps. As being a paranoid kid being left alone already, I had a portable phone next to my bed and a baseball bat underneath it. I grab the phone and the bat and quietly sneak into my sister's room. I can hear the footsteps downstairs, and I can see that they've turned my kitchen light on. I call 911 as I wake my sister up and tell her to be quiet. She can tell what's up, and she gets scared and starts crying. I can't remember exactly, but I swear I actually stuffed a sock in her mouth. She denies that part. I tell her to go hide in the closet, which she does. Anyways, there's a small balcony that hangs over the garage accessible from her window, so I open the window and prepare to kick the screen out. As I'm doing that, I can hear the footsteps coming up the stairs. Not wanting to make noise by kicking the screen out, I abandon that plan and go into the closet. I keep the closet door adjacent to the bedroom door open and hide behind it with the bat ready. The guy comes into the bedroom, he starts to walk in front of the closet, and I swing the bat out the second he comes into my field of view. Caught him right in the temple. He goes down on the floor. He's making a weird groaning sound and rolling. Being 17 and full of adrenaline, I hit him in the head again while he's down. He stops groaning and rolling. Lots of blood. My sister and I hide in the closet until the cops show up. I really don't know how long we were waiting there. I was numb. Cops ask us questions. I try to tell them everything but I'm in shock. My sister can barely speak. They found my grandparents' number and called them. Grandparents live about an hour away, so the cops wait with us until my grandma shows up. Parents were home about 4 hours later. Obviously they drove home immediately when the cops called them, but the wedding was far. About a week goes by and the cops come to our house and talk to my parents. Turns out the guy had a butcher's knife on him and no bag or anything. He was probably just there to kill someone. Had a history of mental illness. It was on the local news for a while. We had reporters hounding us constantly. My dad almost beat the hell out of some reporter who tried to ask my sister questions. It messed me up really bad. I slept with the lights on until I was 23. Lost all of my friends. Saw a therapist for 12 years. I'm married and in a good spot with it now. I still sleep with a gun in the drawer, even though I live in a nice suburb with virtually no crime. I realize I did what needed to be done, but I probably think about it at least once a day. My sister was traumatized. It fucked her up. I don't want to go into much detail because it's depressing to think about, let alone type out. She's better now though, but she still suffers from PTSD. It was a horrific night. One of those things you never think will happen. Stay smart and be ready for anything. Shared this before, but I was walking to 7-Eleven in the middle of the day on a weekday and took a shortcut across an empty lot in Austin, TX. A guy jumped out from behind some vegetation and I saw him out of the corner of my eye as he was mid-jump. He tackled me and was on top of me and hit me a few times and I pulled out my knife and cut from about his chin to his ear. He never said anything, never asked for anything, just jumped on top of me and started hitting. He ran off and bled too much before he made it to the hospital. Probably should post this from a throwaway, but I'm not ashamed. I own a diesel performance shop and many nights stay up there till midnight. I'll leave my office doors open if the weather feels nice. There is a bar next to my shop, so I'm used to people walking through my parking lot or by my office and never think about it. This night it was a Friday and a guy stumbles up to my door mumbling. I can't understand him, so I walk over and ask him if he is okay. He then straightened up and pulls a knife and slashed my face. Told me he knew today I paid all my guys in cash and to give him what was left. I told him I only withdraw the exact amount for payroll, and he tells me something I'll never forget. Get me money or your mama gonna be going to a funeral this week. I said okay, reached in my desk and pulled out a 380 a customer sold me the week before and shot twice. First one hit his stomach, second his leg. I was trying me non-fatal, but as it turns out apparently most shots in the leg are because of magury artery. I tied off his leg while waiting for the police. He was dead before they got there. I don't regret it. It turned out he was on meth, so who knows how it would have gone for me. I also sincerely believe if you threaten someone's life you forfeit your own. Sad thing is his parents are customers of mine. I went to the funeral. They told me they don't blame me and they still bring their trucks to me, and it's really only when I see them it comes up. 2012. I had been doing security for about 5 months. I worked at a shithole apartment complex, which was an unarmed property. But after 2 drive-bys, I requested from the property management and my company to allow me to carry while I was there. I had my armed guard card, so it was legal. 3 days after I got permission to carry, I had some domestic abuse issues going on and had cops on scene. After everyone cleared out, I went back to my patrols. I was standing at an apartment building on the edge of the street. While I had my head down writing out my report, I felt a sharp pain in my back. I stood straight up, and next thing I know someone has their arm around my neck in a headlock. He managed to get another stab into my stomach just under my vest. I grabbed for my firearm, pushed up in an attempt to break the hold, which was ineffective. I could feel him trying to stab, but only meeting my vest. I put my gun to the bottom of his head and pulled the trigger. He let go of his grip, and I turned around. His face was completely fucked. The angle of the gun made the bullet come out of his nose region. His jaw was flash burnt to absolute shit and just hanging like a zombie. I put 2 more into his chest when he finally fell. PCP is one hell of a drug, kids. One of the reporting officers for the domestic abuse was parked up the street. He saw the whole thing, but didn't have time to warn me because he said the druggie was running towards me, and since I was near a busy street, I couldn't hear him coming. I was not guilty. The guy had 2 warrants and a long list of previous criminal history from assault to grand theft auto. I haven't really thought about it since it happened. Edit, not guilty. Right here sounds like a cotton ball, isn't it? If you're a security guard and you sleep at work, stop. My middle daughter's nutcase ex-boyfriend smashed the glass out of our dining room slider while we were eating supper. He burst in wielding a single bit axe. My kids fled while I attempted to reason with him. Then I fled. Once I realized there was no reasoning with him, he followed me. I tossed a cushion from the living room sofa at him, then retreated to my bedroom. He followed me and broke down the door. I blew him apart with my little coach gun. Both barrels. The powers that be charged it off as justifiable homicide. My girls and I spent 6 weeks in a cheap motel until we found a different house to rent.